I tell many people that there are two P's in your life that really irritates you. One is purpose of your life, the other is partner of your life. So, so thankfully one is sorted.
The other one will
The
also
other
come
one
around.
will come along. Sometimes I have like 6 people telling me, "Ma'am, ये problem है, ये problem है, ये problem है." I'm like, okay, let's take one problem at a time. And they're like, आप हमें ना idea बता दो, हम execute कर लेंगे. मैंने कहा, the idea is the problem. You need to come up with the idea. So I knew I was meant to do something very different, honestly, but I did not know how. I remember my friends used to continuously tell me, you love heritage, you should start an organization. And I used to laugh it off because I was
तो
like,
ये थोड़ी कोई काम है.
कोई काम है. I'm like, no, I can't do it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Unbox with Tunvey, a podcast where we try and have conversations with people who are living unconventional lives and have taken some bold choices or made some bold choices in their lives. Today I have with me someone who's a historian, she's a storyteller, she's an entrepreneur, she's a soon-to-be author. Please help me welcome Anoushka Jain.
Thank you, Tanvi, for such a warm bio, I would say, because I have been unable to put myself in words. So you helped me today. And even before this, we were having a conversation that there's little about me and more about the organization.
Correct.
So thank you for adding these thumbnails. Now it makes me, it helps me as well.
No, you're the founder of En Route Indian History, which is a heritage and research organization. And I do want to talk more about you, but I want to ask you, how did this genesis start of setting up
En Route Indian History? So a lot of people assume that it was just a page and then the company started, but it was always started as a company. And as you said, I decided to take a bold move. After I had finished my master's, I was working with IGNCA.
And you've studied history, basically.
I studied history for past 5 years professionally, and I was working. So I thought that I'll continue with PhD, that most people who were pursuing history was doing. But one day, in fact, it was my father. A lot of people assume that my parents would not have been happy with this unconventional path I took. But it was actually my father. And I was miserable. I was so miserable, as you are generally when you are 22, 23, 24.
Saying, समझ नहीं आ रहा, क्या करें?
Like, what is your calling? And I tell many people that there are two P's in your life that really irritates you. One is purpose of your life, the other is partner of your life. So thankfully one is sorted.
The other one will also come around.
One will come along. So he asked that, do you want to do PhD? I was like, no, I don't want to do PhD. So he's like, will you get a job after PhD? I'm like, I'm not sure of it. So he's like, why are you doing it? It does not make you happy, and you're also not going to ultimately get a job. And that is when I decided to start a heritage organization. I loved heritage, but I did not know how to professionally go ahead with it, to be honest. In one of the interviews, they asked, so were you thinking, will it be economically beneficial or not? I'm like, that was last of my concern. My first concern was how to start this, and secondly, if people would come or not, if people would believe that I'm a storyteller who's worth 1.5 hours
of their time,
their attention, their money, and where to begin research, how to go about heritage mapping. All these terms were very new to me, and it was just me, a single woman. At that time, you did not see women in heritage sector at all, because I'm very sure you will resonate with it as well. When you were in college, your parents, and if you are a person growing up in Delhi, your parents would say, don't go to monuments alone. Girls were not allowed to go to monuments alone. So I'm taking up a job where I'm supposed to go to monuments alone, map out the area, and then bring people to monuments. History is considered boring to most people. And then I'm telling people, no, I'm going to make this boring profession interesting and fun.
You were saying history is boring, and I think through school, I didn't like history at all. and it kind of, maybe how it was taught or how it's taught in our schools,
Right.
it was just so boring. And my daughter's 16, going to be 17 now, but the last couple of years before she gave up history in
Yeah.
11th, I was teaching her history, and suddenly the French Revolution made sense. Suddenly,
Yeah.
so many aspects of the Indian freedom struggle started to make sense.
Yeah.
And now I watch so many historical dramas and
Mm.
historical documentaries,
Mm.
and I do feel that it's really how you're introduced to the
Yes.
subject that
Yeah.
either creates that buzz and
Right.
fun or
Yeah.
interest, or
Yeah.
then if it's just mugging up dates, then it's very boring.
Very boring. No, and you're so right about it. I remember when I was in college, ancient India was that one subject that everyone hated because they could not connect with it. That's the
Correct.
problem.
Correct.
Many people do not take ancient India, they always take modern India as a subject. So, but we had this one teacher who made it absolutely so interesting that it became my favorite subject. Similarly, when we started en route Indian history, we saw a lot of IT people coming. And one day I asked one IT professional, I'm like, why are you coming for heritage
History.
walks? It makes no sense. So he's like, no, as you said, in school it was so boring, but when I started going for heritage walks, I realized, oh, it's wonderful, it's interesting, and it's not
Whole world comes to
comes
life.
alive. So, at En route Indian history, we have realized that it's important how you tell a story. How do you tell history itself? And it either makes or breaks it. And also, even a glass, even what you wear is history. So you need to start. You need to use pop culture. You need to use a lot of pop references so that people connect. I always use Bollywood and cinema because that is one love people have.
Yeah,
So
and they can
even
relate,
they
easily.
can relate to it. So even when we do a Tawaf and a Kotha walk, we start the conversation with which are the movies that you have seen when it comes to courtesan.
Yeah.
And they say Pakiza, Umrao Jan, and that is when we build up the entire narrative.
Yeah.
Rather than starting to talk about 500 years ago and people just
True.
not able to imagine it.
True, true. No, it's really wonderful. In fact, you know, all of these heritage walks that you're
Yeah.
doing, in your own way, you are empowering women because you have a
Yeah.
women-only
Yes.
organization.
Yeah.
Plus, you're doing so much to change the narrative on how women are seen historically, right?
Exactly.
Especially in Delhi.
You're right.
And tell me more about,
Women and
yeah, and Badass Begums.
Begums.
Badass Begums is like an amazing brand name for a
Oh,
heritage
thank
walk.
I've
Yeah,
been
I
told
like it.
thank you. So Badass Begum started 1.5 years ago. It was always in making, but I did not know how to execute it because there are multiple structures built by women. And for a city like Delhi, which is not seen welcoming to women, to know that 500, 800 years ago, women were planning the city of Delhi and making city as their own, gives a new perspective to how you embrace Delhi and how Delhi should embrace women also. So Badass Begums is exploring architecture built by women and also talking about it really empowers when both men and women come for our walks to talk about a 26-year-old Jahanara who's telling her father, I don't want to get married, rather I want to build a new city, and her father giving her that freedom. Ki you design Chandni Chowk as your own, and she designs Chandni Chowk like Milan. People from Europe, people from Central Asia are coming and selling their products.
Wow.
So you
That's not the Chandni Chowk that
that we know,
we know, or
yeah,
that's not the modern reference to a beautiful historical
historical,
story.
or Razia Sultan who's fighting patriarchy even for 4 years and building a city, building sarais, building karwas. तो बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि हम इन आर्किटेक्चर्स को दिखाएं एंड लोगों को पता लगे कि women were not always behind the wheel and women were not given freedom, rather women fought for freedom. आपको कभी भी आज़ादी दी नहीं जाती, आपको आज़ादी के लिए लड़ना होता है. And when you hear such stories, it empowers a 21-year-old girl who perhaps is coming for my walk and she thinks, oh, you know what, maybe I want to be an architect, I want to be a designer. In 21st century, how many architects do you know? Female architects, by name, you don't.
Not too many. Yeah.
So, Badass Begums is definitely a walk and Tawafs and Kotha. Also, I tell people that the idea of sexual freedom for women is so important. we are not told this enough. Women's sexuality is always a matter of fight between two patriarchal families. It's a trophy. But when a tawayef or a courtesan decides, I want to be sexually, artistically, and financially independent, that makes a huge statement.
Yeah.
So these two walks are very close to my heart because these are concept walks.
Yeah.
I tell people beforehand that don't expect that I will be showing you lavish havelis. Rather, the entire walk will be broken houses and completely
Dilapidated sort of.
dilapidated, vanished facades. But you need to really put yourself out there and think.
Because it's really the story behind
Exactly.
that facade or behind that dilapidated building,
Right.
right? No, I totally buy your point. So I started reading historical fiction
Yes.
as a form of fiction
Right.
many years ago.
Right.
Now history interests me, but
Yeah.
I think my first foot into history happened through
Always, for everyone.
historical fiction, and I read the Rose trilogy.
Yeah.
And the book that really left an impact was a book called The Taj by T.N. Murari.
Yeah.
I think is one of the most fascinating books written on the Taj and the love story.
Yeah.
And I'm from Agra.
Oh, okay.
And so, not that when you stay in that city, you don't go to that historical monument all the time, but every time there was some guests, so we went back on holidays, we'd go and see the Taj or we'd go and see Fatehpur Sikri, and it was always so boring. And as kids, we'd be like, why are you dragging us through this? हाँ देख लिया, एक photo ले ली, अब चलो घर, हो गया, don't want to be there. And then I think I was in college when I read The Taj by T.N. Murari, and we had some cousins from Amsterdam, I think. And we had taken them to see it. I'm telling you, I saw Fatehpur Sikri in a whole new light. And I saw the Taj in a whole new light. And suddenly for me, it was just a representation of this really beautiful story that while people know the surface level of, most people haven't really dug deep. So I think storytelling is a very big part of what you do.
Yes.
But do you also consider yourself an educator of sorts?
Yes, that is where the job. So recently I was giving a lecture at Christ University, and the topic was a road less taken, bridging the gap between academics and popular history. And I think that is where my job comes, or challenge comes, an obstacle, because I'm a historian, trained historian, and now I have to tell story in such a way that it engages with people, yet I don't compromise with the facts, historical facts. Sometimes in the beginning people were like, मजा नहीं आया, facts थे सिर्फ, थोड़ी gossip, थोड़ी चीजें बताते तो मजा आता. And I really do not want to just tell gossips also. So now what I try to do is, like when we start even a walk like Havelis of Chandni Chowk, we did this recently. We asked for a volunteer from the walk. And so a person will hesitantly raise their hand. So I'll tell, Acha, what will be your name? What will be your occupation 500 years ago? So now you will have to lead the entire group and take us to your house. Where would you be sitting? So that kind of engages with the people. And and then we will say, ki, Acha, theek hai, you use a heavy knocker, because a male will use a heavy knocker, whereas a female will use a light knocker. So even a small difference like this, where a female participant would come and a male participant would come, will always help them keep this in their mind.
Amazing small things
Small things
that you're doing.
Or else we would say ki, Acha, you're a silk trader. Okay, fine. So what is your begum name? Now it's 6 o'clock, you have to reach your begum's house, so you will take this route. So they'll completely engage, and people will remember, Arey Nawab Sahib, bye bye. So you create a community.
Yeah, there's a beautiful community, I'm sure, that's getting built.
Yeah.
Has it been a tough journey? Because the path that you set out on starting historical or heritage walks and helping people to understand and exploring, more than anything, maybe exploring your love for history and figuring out a viable business out of it.
Exactly.
Was that something that was clear in the beginning? Like you said, you weren't sure about the monetary thing, but were you clear this is a company that I want to build?
I knew that I want to do this. I was not sure how big a company it would be, but slowly and steadily, a lot of women started joining. So far, I have mentored 200 plus women, which is a lot in past 5 years.
Wow.
And I just did not know. Like the first time a young girl came, and she's like, "I want to intern with you," but I was like, "What will I teach you? I have no clue." But pandemic helped in the past 2 years. The 2 years of pandemic helped us to bring a community where we started research and writing. We started heritage mapping as a sector where we are training women on how to map out a city. We are training women on how to research and write. We are training media and production because we generally see men with cameras. So we are giving opportunity to women to come with us and document the areas. So now it's a wonderful organization. It's creating a safe space. And particularly I have felt in art field and liberal field, the power dynamics is really bad and women are exploited
I
a
mean, it's
lot.
bad in so many places, not
Places.
just the arts, but yeah, I
But
think.
in liberal studies, I don't know why. In art world, I feel that it's a very close knit circuit of people, and plus, um, we also do not support artists and painters who have a lot of sexual harassment cases against them. I don't want to put the name, but someone called and they said, "Okay, this artist exhibition is there. Do you want? Will you give a walk?" I'm like, "I won't," because we need to create the difference between art and artist also. These are the important things that we do. Having said that, and women also feel that it's a safer space to work where their voices are heard. And I have found this very rewarding. And I tell everyone ki when a woman stands and 50 people pay to listen to her, not for her beauty, not for how she looks, but just because she has something to say, empowers so many young women. We sometimes have 10-year-old girls who say ki when I grow big, I want to intern with you. There was this one girl from Washington. She came for a lot of walks. She's like, "Mama, I want to work with them. Will it be possible or not?" So yes, I think that's very important.
No, it's
So
such a beautiful thing that you're doing. As an entrepreneur,
yeah,
there is passion that got
yeah,
you started. There
yeah,
is a lot of, I'm sure, right now you're being able to say badass begums
yeah,
and havelis of
yeah.
Chandni Chowk. But the point is that to get to a point where you have a product
Right.
that you can sell, there must have
Exactly.
been huge
Huge
amounts of hit
obstacles.
and trial,
Yeah.
failed
Right.
experiments. As an entrepreneur, what are some of the things that you feel you have
Learned.
acquired and learned? Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing is I tell people, and we had a lot of criticism. We had a lot of men bully us. Even now, it happened to me. It happened to me where I saw this club of men always bullying us. We had to close the comment section for few months because we were getting so many. Ki, don't play women's card. You're digging your own grave, and all these things were told to us. Very nasty things were written to us in DMs. And as a historian, that really bothered me because I was really not someone who was looking for fame or anything. I was just doing my job in popularizing history. Um, so as an obstacle, this also became an obstacle. I was not comfortable facing cameras also. So to put myself out there, and you're like, "No, ma'am, people may not love a company, people may love a face. So you have to put yourself out there." So the kind of obstacles you face is firstly to understand what people really want, to understand the nerve of the society. So I have understood people in Delhi love food, so you have to engage with food. People in Delhi would love thoda popular history, Bollywood. So you need to connect history with Bollywood as well. So there have been failed experiments. When we started Ladies Night Walk, even though it was a wonderful concept, women did not want to come because I'll tell you, the reason was women wanted to come with their boyfriends, their partners at night, or women wanted कि यार रात का time है, we want to enjoy. So we understood, oh, we have to add some entertaining element to it, not just history, so that women are more encouraged to come out at night and reclaim the city space. The turnouts were so low, and we are still experimenting with that concept, even though media loves it and it's a noble concept. Women are still want ki, why don't we go to a nightclub rather than come for a heritage walk? But it's important to show 20, 30 women in a monument space after 6 o'clock. So as an entrepreneur, firstly, you need to have a very strong team who believes in your ideas. Secondly, you need to know A to Z. So you need to know things about media. You need to know things about social media marketing. You need to know about research. You need to know about investors. You need to know about logistics
Law and
and
finance and
law and
taxes
finance
and
and taxes. Like sometimes I have like 6 people telling me, "Ma'am, ye problem hai, ye problem hai, ye problem hai." I'm like, okay, let's take one problem at a time. And they're like, आप हमें ना idea बता दो, हम execute कर लेंगे. मैंने कहा, the idea is the problem. You need to come up with the idea. So sometimes I'm like, I'm not Anushka slash founder. I'm Anushka slash founder, social media marketer, because it's also not a huge organization where we can afford people to have people who we can pay a lot. We are also just starting, and when I was starting, I could only hire freshers. I could not hire people with experience. So I had to give them ideas. They were just working, they were ready to work, eager to work. So you need to know your business, you need to have a solid team, and you need to be thick with criticism, you need to have a thick skin. And also, lastly, you need to experiment. You cannot be someone, I have an idea, I will just work on this and nothing else. You need to evolve, understand the feedback. You were telling me the story of
yeah,
Jewelers,
yeah,
yeah?
correct. I was quite amazed because the gentleman who started
Yeah.
Kalyan Jewelers, today it's a huge conglomerate.
Yeah.
Uh, they're doing so well with
Right.
branches all over. I don't know how many thousands of crores worth of
Yeah.
turnover. But I was reading a story where even now,
Yeah.
every month, he randomly calls 15 customers just to understand, uh, get a
Pulse of
pulse of the
yeah.
people and the customers, and to have his ear on the ground.
Yeah.
Because I think when you build a larger organization, you can be at the top.
Yeah.
You're getting very filtered information. You don't
Yes.
necessarily know what's happening right at the
Right.
grassroots level. And I think that was so amazing that even now
Yeah.
he takes the effort and time to call not one or
Exactly.
two, 15 customers
15
every
customers.
month, which
Yeah.
means he's pretty much talking to someone every alternate day.
Alternate day.
That is, I think it's something inspiring and amazing to learn.
Exactly. And with the service sector, as you scale up, the quality can get compromised. So any person who's starting a service sector will face this issue once they start scaling, because you'll outsource your services. So it's important, as you said, that you have an ear to the ground. You still talk to customers. You still present yourself for small things, so that people know that
You're
you're
still
still
involved in the
involved in the
process,
process.
yeah.
And lastly, you will require people, you will require investors who know how to scale up. So once you are sure, you can start having a pitch or a deck, get investors involved who are not silent investors, but
To guide
people
you as well.
to guide you as well, because you will reach a point beyond which your creativity will be there, but you would not know the entrepreneur part of it. Ki how do I scale up to 100 crore business?
No, so I think that's a very valid point you're making, because there's so many people who start a passion project,
Yes.
and that passion and their own intelligence,
Yeah.
common sense, hit and trial,
Right.
experimentation will get them to a point where you know that okay, the pilot project
Yeah.
has worked. Like
Yeah.
the unit
Yes.
functions.
Yes.
Now, how to make this unit into 100 units
Yeah.
is a skill set that so many of us don't have.
Yeah.
And that's to be able to let go also, So I think, do you feel like, your baby is growing up and you're letting go when investors come in? Do you
Yeah.
feel a little insecurity?
I do. I face so much insecurity. You have no clue, because for 5 years this has been my life. So now that the investors are on board and we are working with them, so they were telling me recently, like, Anushka, you need to have someone on board, a CEO or a person who will be managing things, complementary skills that you do not have. So you also need to admit, I think, as an entrepreneur, that, oh, I shine over here, I do not shine over here. Perhaps whatever it could be, logistics, finance, something. And you need to have someone who you can give equity, and if you want to scale up, or else you will never scale up. And that was so scary for me, because you are letting someone inside your house now who will have certain kind of vision, which may not be your vision, but to scale up, you have to sometimes agree. But one problem that I also did was, when I started, I did not know on page what will be the roles and responsibility of people, and that many startups will have कि तुम ये भी
Yeah,
करो,
there's overlap of
overlap
roles
of
and
roles कि तुम ये भी कर लो. So I would say after 1 year, maybe sit down and just address and understand what are the roles and responsibilities of people in your company, because that will really help in streamlining things. I did
वरना
not do
नहीं
it.
होता, वरना everybody's got multiple bosses and
Yes.
multiple reportees, and it
Yes.
just creates confusion. I do agree with what you're saying, you know. I want to ask you something. When you were
Right.
younger, when you
Yeah.
were in school and college,
Yeah.
what had you thought you wanted to do?
Oh, I would love to address this. So, I remember this so vividly. I was in college, and as a young girl, you get influenced by so many people, and especially men, I would say. Generally, 21-year-old guys present themselves to be very sure.
Yeah. I think early 20s, everybody thinks that I know everything. Yeah.
So like I had men around me who knew, they were like, "हाँ हो जाएगा," and they were going to Ivy League colleges, and they already were doing internships and everything. I remember this another guy who told me, "You just need to know what you're going to do 10 years ahead, and that is it." Already it has been 10 years. I just want to go back to that person. So, and I'm like, 10 साल बाद मुझे क्या करना है? I have no clue. Like, I wish I had that clarity, but I don't at that age, 18, 20, 21. So please, to all the new people, all the generation, and I sometimes, obviously, I talk to Gen Z. Please don't be afraid if you do not have clarity when what you want to do at the age of 21. I knew I was meant to do something very different, honestly, but I did not know how. So I
Didn't
remember
even know what at that stage, actually.
how, what, nothing. I remember my friends used to continuously tell me, you love heritage, you should start an organization. And I used to laugh it off because I was
ये
like,
थोड़ी कोई काम है.
कोई काम है. I'm like, no, I can't do it. It seemed too big.
Also, the path you've chosen,
Yes.
उसके कोई roadmap तो है नहीं.
है नहीं ना, and we do not think starting a company at this age now, it's very easy to say you can start a startup. You and I were discussing कि pandemic में so many people started this.
Correct.
You yourself evaluated so many things.
Correct.
अब बहुत आसान है, but 5 years ago अगर business start करना was not something people would do.
No, I think the pandemic did force people to reevaluate their
Yes.
lives. A lot of people became self-employed or
Yes.
remote working, or
Yeah.
created some kind of
Right.
an idea which took them out of the rat
Right.
race. But yeah, like
Yeah.
you chose a path जिसका कोई benchmark नहीं है,
नहीं.
कोई roadmap नहीं है, especially in India.
Especially in India.
Yeah.
So I did not know what to do, and I knew I wanted to do something very different. I remember it hurt me so bad. I was working in IGNC, and a friend said, Anushka, I always thought you'll do something different. This was not what I thought you'll do. And I was hurt. I was like, why? The job is good and stuff. But when finally I started doing en route, the puzzle fit.
Yeah.
Everything just was in place. And I thought, oh, this is it. This is what I want to do. It will be hard. It will be horrible. I will cry on days. I will have breakdowns. I will go into therapy. But this is something I want to do. So, two P's in your life. Once you find purpose in your life, and I know you have found purpose in your life, and I would love to know about it as well. But if you find a purpose in your life, don't give up, because any random guy will come. And you may have a bad relationship, bad marriage, someone will try to pull you down, but you will have at least faith in one thing, that this is who I am as a person.
True.
So when did you find your calling?
I think nobody's asked me this question,
Yeah.
but so I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
At the age of 15, I wanted to be a truck driver. And I'm not saying as a 6-year-old,
yeah.
as a 15, 16-year-old, I just learned how to drive a
Right.
car. And every time I had to study and
Yeah.
I got, called up
Yeah.
for study,
Yeah.
I said, I want to run away. Now,
Yeah.
how can I support myself? So, okay, if I become a truck, that's the only skill I have.
Yeah, driving, that's the only skill.
So at the age of 15 or 16, in 10th, 11th, I seriously contemplated becoming a truck driver, and
driver.
not a normal truck driver.
Yeah.
I like the open trucks where they
Yeah,
covered
yeah,
their
yeah.
head in the
Oh, okay. मैं निकला गड्डी लेके
yeah.
सब हाँ.
And even now when I see those trucks on the road, I'm
Yeah.
saying, see, at
Yeah.
15 kids today know exactly what they want.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a truck driver, you
Yeah.
know. But I think I had the ability to speak,
Yeah.
and so I graduated, or
Yes.
I moved towards television.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any godfather or anything. I
Right.
saw ads, gave
Yeah.
auditions, worked with NDTV for many
Yeah.
years and other channels. I started with Doordarshan actually in
Lovely.
93 or 94.
Amazing.
And us time to khair tha hi Doordarshan,
Yeah.
there was nothing else at that point. And I started, and I think after 10, 15 years, one morning I was to do a show called Cut. NDTV Good Times used to have a show called Cut. And it was a Bollywood newsletter kind of a show. While I'd done talk shows which used to focus on social issues, and I'd done some serious stuff and some fun stuff and car and bike shows and education shows,
Yeah.
like I had a
Right.
wide variety. But that one morning, I remember I was writing a script at 6:30 or 7 in the morning,
Yeah.
and the news wire said I had to write a small script or piece on Priyanka Chopra's new hair color.
Yeah.
I'm very fond of her.
Yeah.
And nothing to do with the hair color. But when I was writing at 6:37 in the morning, I said, listen, I can't be writing about Priyanka
Yeah.
Chopra's hair color at 6:30 in the morning, because, respect to her, love to her and whatever, but I can't be doing this.
Yeah.
So I think something shifted at that point, and I thought, okay, television's not my thing. I need to do something else. So I went to London. I studied career coaching.
Lovely.
I came back to India, and I realized nobody knew what coaching
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got into training. I continued parallelly doing some television, etc. And I almost closed the door on being in front of the camera, saying that part of my life is over. Now I'm coaching and training. But what I have realized is that purpose is not a thing always.
Yeah.
Sometimes purpose is a feeling,
Yes.
and everybody has a gift.
Right.
Every human
Exactly.
being on the planet has a gift.
Right.
I have a gift to
Yeah.
be able to speak, maybe.
Yes.
And I was using that gift in a place which was fun and
Right.
entertaining. I learned a lot. I grew.
Yeah.
I made some great friends.
Yes.
But then I kind of gave up that gift, thinking this is
Exactly.
not my thing.
Right.
But after I came back on social media and I started this podcast and I started posting on Instagram, etc., I've got so much of love from people, and primarily because I realized that I didn't have to ignore my gift.
Yes.
I just had to figure out another
How to
way
channelize,
to
yeah.
use my gift. So I think for me, it's really to be able to help people that I feel
Yeah.
very deeply in my bones.
Yeah.
And I try and use whatever gifts I have.
Yeah.
Some are skills, some are gifts, but I try and use them
Right.
to keep capturing the feeling,
Exactly.
which is my purpose, which is that did I help somebody? Did I impact someone positively?
Exactly.
Did I make a difference in some form or manner? So I think for me, purpose is a feeling, not necessarily a thing.
No, it's completely right. And I think that is the challenge that most young people face, that first you need to locate your gift. That is something people don't sit down and think about. What are my gifts, my talents? And once you have figured it out, how to channel it. So, and we have been lucky, I would say, both you and I, that we took the courageous step and we channeled our gifts into something materialized.
Think, but the thing is that most of us don't even see our gift as a gift. Because it comes easily to you.
Yeah.
It comes naturally to you,
Yes.
and it feels like no effort.
And
so because it's no effort, you tend to dismiss it, saying, "अरे
Yes.
ये तो बहुत आसान है, कुछ
हाँ,
मतलब कुछ
it needs-
तोड़ू करेंगे,
it needs to be heroic.
हाँ,
Yeah.
I need to do something difficult. I
Yes.
need to do something which is not in my comfort
Right.
zone. Only then
Then,
I will find my purpose." But what I found is that things you enjoy,
Yes,
things you're good at,
right.
things that come naturally to you and feel effortlessly to you, those are indications of your gift.
Yes.
And and so many of us don't recognize them. I didn't recognize
Yes.
my
No, you
my
have put it
gifts
so
for-
adequately and so nicely, I would say. This is perfect. Which comes, so a lot of people say, "Arey, aapne itna kara hai," and I'm like, nahi, matlab, you trivialize it because you think I am doing what
correct. You
comes naturally to
trivialize
me.
it because you don't think that it's your gift, but it is your gift.
Yeah. So I'm like, no, but normal, it's okay, ऐसा हो गया, क्या करती मैं और, like that's all I know. I just did what I knew. So I think it's very important that we, but also apart from it, I think it's important that you have a very strong support system who will help you
Yeah.
work towards your gift. When you have people who are telling you कि नहीं तुम क्या ही कर रही हो, and that happened when I started. I remember I was telling my friends and some of them said कि अच्छा okay but तुम तो guide बन रही हो ना, that is the idea, see that is the idea. And even my parents were, and they were telling other people कि she has started this and stuff, they were like guide बन गई, history walks देगी तो guide बन गई. So for people to understand ki what you are doing, when it's
True.
very hard to explain storytelling, and like people say why will you, why, and we still get calls ki why should we pay 600 rupees to you, what is it that you're going to tell us that we should pay money for it. So that idea, you are selling an idea, you're selling
An idea that
storytelling,
people are not
familiar with. To make people comfortable with this concept is the challenge, the obstacle itself.
No, but I think you've done a fabulous job in staying true to your
Yeah.
passion, staying true to what you felt in your bones was the right thing to
Yeah.
do, face the criticism and overcome it, you know. I do want to ask you,
Yeah, sure.
um, you know, you said that, you know, there are all of these walks. Now, I have a 16-year-old. Maybe
Yeah.
you should, you know, plan an experimental walk
Walk
with teenagers.
Oh, but you know, this will be fun. I would
Yeah.
like to do that. Maybe mother-daughter something.
Yeah.
Because there are not enough avenues where mother-daughters can be together. And
Yes, please. I
harmoniously.
will ensure that a lot of kids come. And
Come.
even if I have to arm twist them and blackmail them to come, but and when
Yes.
they come, I know they'll enjoy it. You know?
Yes, I think we can curate walks. We are doing queer-friendly walk as well this Sunday in Mehroli Archaeological Park. Jamali.
Lots of interesting
Yeah.
things. But tell me, what is exciting about the future?
future
What
of
is
our
it
route?
that you're what is it that you're looking forward to?
So I personally, as you said, since there's no roadmap, and my investors also asked me, कि, Anushka, you need to sit down and write for the next 2 years what you're going to do. I'm like, oh my God, this is really tough. But so I'll tell you, for the past 2 years, the problem was pandemic did not give us normalcy. So 2023 was the first year since En route started where things were normal. So we have started working with schools very closely, where we are trying to include heritage as a part of curriculum, because history is a part of curriculum, heritage is not. And sadly, schools are still not understanding. They are like, "आप ले जाइए, घुमा के ले आइए." But I'm like, no, it needs to have a lot of activities. It needs to be part that you go back, you self-analyze, and the second is we are writing books, so that you just pick a book and you can explore the city yourself.
Yeah, interesting story.
Interesting.
Books with historical stories. Yeah.
Interesting stories, perhaps 50 objects that shaped women history in India. So you just look at
So
objects.
lots of fun stuff coming
Lot
your
of
way.
fun stuff, and perhaps more podcasts, and I don't know, I want people life to surprise me and things to surprise me.
No, but I think
Yeah.
I think you're on the right track.
Yeah.
If you had to name one thing
Yeah.
that you have truly deeply learned or transformed because of your entire
Yeah.
experience, what would that be?
Oh heavens, that's a very tough question.
No, it could be something as simple as courage, it could be
No,
passion, it could be
I
whatever.
think it would be, as you said, even in worst times, not giving up on your belief system, because there will be, business is, you will have more bad days than good days. There will be 30 bad days and one good day. So for you to be motivated enough to push yourself through 30 days to reach to that one good day is what I have learned. Not to be demotivated. Have people around you who have faith in you. At the end of the day, you can tell someone, I had a bad day and this is what happened. And that person says, it's fine, it's okay.
It's just one day.
It's just one day, you can do this. So please have those people around you, because you cannot keep self motivated yourself. You would require an army and a village of people who will
support
feed
you.
you, to support you, who you come at the end of the day at 8 or 9. Someone as simple as a maid who's making sure that you have warm food. Ki didi khana kha lo. So have those people around you, and only then you can follow your passion. Yeah.
I think you made a very powerful point of
Yeah.
not losing sight of your belief.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. And even if you don't have the support system, I think if you are passionate, slowly the right people
Will
come into your life somehow,
Yeah.
you know. I do believe that.
Right.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Anoushka.
you
It's been
so
absolutely
much.
fabulous talking to you, and
Thank
I
you.
wish you all the very best and look forward to the walk with teenagers.
Yes, thank you so much.
That's it on this episode of Unbox with Tanvi. We'll catch you on another one soon.